Hello and welcome to Reis das Artes, Unimaginable Conversations. My name is Almir Reis. I am a visual artist and I have the pleasure of being your host on this unique journey through the history of art. In this program, we cross the boundaries of time and imagination to meet some of the most influential artists who have ever lived. Through these extraordinary conversations, we explore their lives, their creative processes, their struggles, and the masterpieces that changed the world forever. Today, we travel back to the 19th century, a period of profound transformation in the art world. Our guest was born on a Caribbean island and would become one of the most important figures in the development of modern painting. He challenged the strict academic traditions of his time and embraced a revolutionary approach to capturing light, color, and everyday life. A mentor, a friend, and an inspiration to many younger artists, he played a crucial role in the birth and growth of Impressionism. His landscapes, rural scenes, and city views revealed a remarkable sensitivity to nature and human experience. Throughout his career, he remained committed to artistic innovation, helping shape movements that would influence generations of painters. It is an honor to welcome one of the true pioneers of modern art. Please join me in welcoming today's guest, Camille Pissaro.
Before we begin, I would like to thank you for inviting me to be part of Reis das Artes. It is a true pleasure to be on such a special program. Almir, I have followed the interviews with many of my friends and fellow artists from the Impressionist movement, and it has been a great pleasure to hear their stories, memories, and reflections on art. I was especially moved by Monday's program honoring the passing of David Hockney. It was a beautiful tribute to an extraordinary artist whose contribution to the world of art will continue to inspire generations. I am honored to be here today and grateful for the opportunity to share some of my journey, my experiences, and my thoughts on painting and art. I am very happy to be here. We can begin our conversation.
Could you tell us where and when you were born and what your childhood was like?
I was born on July 10th, 1830, in Charlotte Amalie on the island of St. Thomas, then part of the Danish West Indies. My childhood was shaped by the vibrant colors, bright sunlight, and tropical landscapes of the Caribbean. Growing up in such a diverse environment exposed me to many different cultures and ways of life. Looking back, I believe the light and beauty of my birthplace had a lasting influence on my artistic vision and the way I later approached painting.
What circumstances led you to leave St. Thomas and move to Paris? What inspired that important decision in your life?
From a young age, I felt a strong attraction to drawing and painting, but my family hoped that I would follow a more practical path in business. After spending time in Venezuela and becoming increasingly devoted to art, I realized that I needed formal training and exposure to a larger artistic community. Paris was the center of the art world at the time, offering opportunities to study, learn from great masters, and meet other aspiring artists. Although leaving my home was a difficult decision, I felt compelled to pursue my passion and develop my abilities as a painter. Moving to Paris was a turning point that shaped the rest of my life and career.
What were your first steps after arriving in Paris? It was one of the most vibrant cities in the world, especially for someone who loved art and hoped to build a career in that field. How did you adapt, and what were your early experiences like?
Arriving in Paris was both exciting and challenging. I was eager to learn and immersed myself in studying the works of the great masters in museums and galleries. I attended art classes, worked tirelessly to improve my technique, and spent countless hours sketching and painting. Paris was alive with new ideas, artistic debates, and talented young painters who were searching for new ways to represent the world. Meeting fellow artists and exchanging ideas with them was invaluable. Although life was often difficult financially, I felt that I was exactly where I needed to be to grow as an artist and pursue my dream.
What were your family's circumstances when you decided to move to Paris? Did you receive moral and financial support from them? Were they able to help you during such an important and uncertain period of your life?
My family, Almir, was relatively comfortable financially thanks to my father's business in St. Thomas. However, they were not entirely convinced that pursuing a career in art was the wisest choice. Like many families of the time, they viewed business as a more secure and respectable profession than painting. While there were moments of hesitation and concern, I did receive some support that allowed me to continue my artistic studies. More important than the financial assistance was my determination to follow my vocation. The path was not always easy, but I was fortunate not to face it completely alone, and over time my family came to understand how deeply committed I was to becoming an artist.
You are often called the father of Impressionism. What technical principles do you consider essential for a painting to truly convey the light, air, and movement of nature?
To capture nature truthfully, an artist must first learn to observe patiently. Light is never still. It changes from moment to moment, transforming colors, shadows, and forms. One must therefore paint not what one believes to see, but what is actually before one's eyes at a given instant. Almir, I consider direct observation essential. Painting outdoors allows the artist to study the atmosphere, the vibration of colors, and the relationship between sky, land, and light. Colors should not be isolated but understood through their interaction with neighboring tones. Shadows are not merely black or gray, they contain reflections and subtle colors from the surrounding environment. Movement is suggested through the vitality of the brushstroke and the harmony of the composition. A painting should breathe. The viewer must feel the breeze in the trees, the warmth of the sun, or the moisture in the air. Technical skill is important, but it must serve the greater goal of expressing the living sensation of nature. Above all, an artist should remain sincere and faithful to what he observes.
Camille, what were the greatest technical challenges of painting directly in nature rather than working in a studio?
Painting outdoors presents many challenges that the studio does not. The greatest difficulty is that nature is constantly changing. The light shifts, clouds move across the sky, shadows change direction, and colors evolve from one moment to the next. An artist must work quickly while remaining accurate in observation. Weather conditions can also be demanding. Wind, rain, cold, or excessive heat often interfere with both concentration and technique. There is also the practical challenge of transporting materials and setting up an easel in the countryside. Yet these difficulties are also advantages. They force the painter to be attentive, spontaneous, and honest. Working directly before the landscape allows one to capture effects of light and atmosphere that are impossible to reproduce entirely from memory. The challenge is not merely to copy nature, but to translate its living energy onto the canvas.
What led you to experiment with Neo-Impressionism and the pointillist techniques developed by Georges Seurat and Paul Signac?
Throughout my life, I have always believed that an artist must remain curious and open to new ideas. When I encountered the theories and techniques of Seurat and Signac, I was fascinated by their scientific approach to color and light. Their method of placing small touches of pure color side by side, allowing the viewer's eye to blend them, seemed to offer new possibilities for achieving luminosity and harmony. I did not see this as a rejection of Impressionism, but rather as an opportunity to expand my understanding of painting. The discipline and structure of Neo-Impressionism challenged me to think differently about composition, color relationships, and visual effects. As an artist, I felt it was important to explore these innovations firsthand rather than judge them from a distance. Although I later moved away from strict pointillism, the experience enriched my work and deepened my understanding of color. Every serious artist should be willing to learn, experiment, and evolve throughout his life.
Looking back on your career and considering both movements from a broader perspective, which do you find more appealing, Impressionism or Pointillism?
I greatly admired Neo-Impressionism for its discipline, its intellectual rigor, and its fascinating theories about color. My years experimenting with Pointillism taught me valuable lessons that remained with me for the rest of my life. However, if I were asked to choose between the two, I would say that Impressionism ultimately remained closer to my heart. The Impressionist approach allowed for greater spontaneity, freedom, and emotional response to nature. It enabled me to capture life as I experienced it with all its movement, atmosphere, and unpredictability. Pointillism offered a remarkable system, but at times I felt it could become too restrictive. Nature is alive and constantly changing, and I found that a freer brushstroke was often better suited to expressing its vitality. For that reason, while I respected Neo-Impressionism deeply, Impressionism remained the language through which I felt most able to speak as an artist.
Pissaro, in your opinion, who is the greatest painter of all time? And within the Impressionist movement, who do you consider to be the greatest artist?
It is difficult to name a single greatest painter of all time, for each era has produced masters who expanded the possibilities of art. Almir, if I were to choose one artist whose achievements seem almost limitless, I might say Diego Velázquez. His mastery of observation, light, atmosphere, and human character remains extraordinary and continues to inspire generations of painters. As for the Impressionist movement, I would have to acknowledge Claude Monet. More than anyone else, Monet devoted himself entirely to the study of light and its effects on nature. His persistence, innovation, and unwavering commitment to the Impressionist vision helped define the movement itself. That said, I have always believed that art is not a competition. Renoir brought warmth and humanity, Degas brought structure and insight, Cézanne opened the door to modern art, and each artist contributed something unique. The greatness of Impressionism lies not in one painter alone, but in the collective achievement of many remarkable artists.
You were the only artist to participate in all 8 Impressionist exhibitions. During those years, the movement faced criticism, ridicule, and rejection from much of the art establishment. Did you ever consider giving up and returning to academic painting, which would have been a much safer path?
Yes, there were moments of doubt. Any artist who claims never to have doubted himself is either very fortunate or not entirely honest. The criticism was often harsh, and there were times when selling paintings was extremely difficult. We were mocked by critics, ignored by many collectors, and dismissed by institutions that preferred the established academic traditions. However, I never seriously considered abandoning the principles that I believed to be true. Academic painting offered security and acceptance, but I felt that it no longer reflected the reality of the world as I saw it. My goal was not simply to satisfy the expectations of the salon, but to pursue a more sincere and direct vision of nature. What gave me strength was the conviction that we were exploring something important. I saw the dedication of Monet, Renoir, Degas, and the others, and I knew that we were not merely rebelling for the sake of rebellion. We were searching for a new way of seeing. Success came slowly and often painfully, yet I believe that an artist must be faithful to his convictions. Had I returned to academic painting solely for comfort or approval, I might have gained greater security, but I would have lost something far more valuable, my artistic freedom.
Mr. Pissaro, your painting Le Boulevard Montmartre, Matinée de Printemps, was sold at Sotheby's in London in 2014 for approximately $32.1 million, setting an auction record for your work. It depicts the Boulevard Montmartre in Paris on a luminous spring morning and is considered one of the finest examples of your urban series. Did you ever imagine, during your lifetime, that one of your paintings would one day reach such an extraordinary value?
No, I never imagined such a thing. During much of my life, I struggled financially and often found it difficult to sell my paintings at all. The idea that one of my works would someday be sold for millions would have seemed almost unbelievable. Of course, Almir St, I am honored that people continue to value my work. But what pleases me most is not the price. It is the fact that more than a century later, people still find meaning, beauty, and emotion in the scenes I painted. That, to me, is the true measure of an artist's success.
If you could see today's art world, what would you think of conceptual art, digital art, prints, and artificial intelligence in art?
I believe every era creates new artistic tools and ideas. Conceptual art reminds us that ideas matter, while digital art shows that creativity can adapt to new technologies. Prints help make art accessible to more people, which I greatly support. Artificial intelligence is more complicated. If it serves as a tool for artists, it can be valuable, but art should always contain human observation, emotion, and personal experience. Technology may assist creativity, but it should not replace the artist's soul.
To close our conversation, what advice would you give to young artists and to people in general who love art?
To young artists, I would say, learn to observe. Observe nature, people, light, and life itself with patience and humility. Do not chase fashion or approval. Develop your skills, remain curious, and have the courage to follow your own vision, even when others do not understand it. To those who love art, I would say, take your time. Do not look at a painting merely with your eyes, but also with your heart. Art is not only something to be understood, it is something to be felt. The more carefully you look, the more it will reveal to you. Above all, remember that art enriches life. It teaches us to see beauty in ordinary things and to appreciate the world with greater sensitivity. That is one of its greatest gifts.
Well, that brings us to the end of another fascinating conversation. On behalf of everyone watching, I would like to sincerely thank Camille Pissaro for joining us today. It was an honor to explore his life, artistic journey, ideas, and legacy, and to reflect on how his vision continues to inspire artists and art lovers around the world. And thank you to all of you for being here with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, leave a comment below, and share it with your friends who are passionate about art, creativity, technology, and the future of artistic expression. Your support helps us continue bringing these conversations to life. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Wednesday with another very special guest. Until then, keep creating, keep learning, and keep looking at the world through curious eyes. See you next time. Bye-bye, and God bless you.